Hi, I'm Kelly Chase and this is History Detective, and today I would like to introduce you to the Japanese political activist Toshiko Kishida. At just 20 years old, Toshiko Kishida delivered her famous Daughters in Their Boxes speech to an audience of almost 500 people. Ironically, for making a speech about women being kept in boxes, she was herself arrested and put into a box. Many of the speeches that women made in Japan at this time, during this burgeoning political feminist culture, have since been destroyed. And one of the reasons we have a copy of the Daughters in Their Boxes speech is simply because she was arrested and put on trial for that speech. During the 1880s, there was a growing culture of political debate. Meetings and speaking tours were often held in theatres, temples, and sometimes even bathhouses. These speeches were mainly done by men, but there weren't any laws stopping women from attending these political meetings, so women started speaking. This is when Toshiko started to become well known on the speaking circuit. She was not only the first woman in Japan to publicly argue for equal rights for women, but she was also sponsored by the Liberal Party to undertake a speaking tour. Her speeches were so inspiring that they spurred women to start their own political organizations. Toshiko Kishida was born into a merchant family. In the previous feudal system, the merchant class were quite low in the hierarchy, but in the new Meiji era, she was able to receive an education in which she excelled. At 14, she received the highest score in the city of Kyoto in her academic exam, and at 16, she was the first commoner invited to the Royal Meiji Court as a guest of the Empress Meiji, as a lecturer and a literary advisor. She resigned after 2 years, politely citing illness, but later wrote a poem that implied that although the palace was peaceful and full of beautiful women, that it was far from the real world and was imbued with a sense of boredom. It was after this that she started to travel doing speech tours and often attracted large audiences of women who were inspired by her speeches about generations of inequality for women. She regularly appeared in the newspapers, and in a 2-year period between 1882 and 1883, she gave more than 50 popular speeches. Future feminist Hideko Kageyama said of her, "I was unable to suppress my resentment and indignation and began immediately to organize women and their daughters to take the initiative in explaining and advocating natural rights, liberty, and equality." One of the most remembered speeches that Toshiko ever made was in October of 1883, the Daughters in Their Boxes speech, and the only reason we have the transcript to this speech is she was put on trial for it. At the bottom of the speech translation, there is a note that says, "The policeman transcribed the speech himself, and it is the first time that a policeman has read into court record the transcription of a speech that he himself painstakingly recorded." Knowing how difficult it is to transcribe something in real time, it does make me wonder of the word-for-word accuracy of the speech. The speech itself is about 3,500 words, and from my modern perspective, it is apolitical and relatively mild in its criticism, but apparently it was bad enough to land her in court for discussing politics. The gist of the speech was that Japanese families kept their daughters in metaphorical boxes to keep them safe, just as these days we would keep a pop vinyl toy in its box for resale value. But in doing so, women became useless. Toshiko said, "They may have hands and feet and a voice, but to no avail because their freedom is restricted. Unable to move, their hands and feet are useless. Unable to speak, their voice has no purpose." She also explains that women should be allowed to study before they get married, especially economics. Her reasoning is that if her husband is to die, she needs to be able to plan for her financial future. She is not espousing complete independence for women, but instead advocating for women to be able to become educated in order to safeguard their future. Toshiko's speeches attracted a lot of people to her speaking tour, but this particular one landed her in court. Then, in the late 1880s, partly because of her influence as a speaker, a new law was introduced which denied women the right to attend or speak at political meetings. Toshiko Kishida was only 40 when she died in 1901. She had contracted tuberculosis, which is a bacterial lung infection that can also spread to other parts of the body. She contracted the disease 6 years earlier, but as the disease progressed, she wrote about her symptoms in her diary: paralyzing fevers, endless coughing, shortness of breath, and gradual loss of the ability to swallow or breathe comfortably. Feminism in Japan did not begin nor end with Toshiko Kishida, but she certainly played a significant role in inspiring change and spreading the word across Japan. If you would like to hear more about Japanese history, I will link the episode on Hojo Masako below, and there is a podcast episode on samurai women in the History Detective podcast feed. This is Kelly Chase on the case. I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which this video is being recorded today. I pay my respects to the elders and knowledge holders, past, present, and emerging.